Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for another Tip of the Cap installment. So these are shout out videos where I point out a channel that I really enjoy on the YouTube platform, give them a shout out, but also use it as an opportunity to look at some cards in my collection that are sort of a fit as it relates to that particular channel or collector. So this has been a fun ongoing series that I started a little while back. So far I've covered Peeps and I've covered Card Wolf. So if you are, whether you are or aren't familiar with those two channels, if you're interested in seeing those, please check the video archive here on my channel. But today's tip of the cap is going to go to Deedsy over at Deedsy Breaks. Deedsy is a great guy. He lives in the Northwest. He's a Mariners fan and a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan, which is great. He's a big supporter of this channel. I've seen him in the comments, all the time. He watches a lot of my videos and just leaves great comments. Super guy. I'm sure you've seen him around in the comments on other channels as well. He's very, very supportive and vocal. Constantly seeing him out there on other channels and just a great member of the community. His channel is fantastic. He does product breaks, as you would think, based on the name Deedsy Breaks. But what I love about his breaks, he not only covers the new stuff, which he does. You're going to get your 2022 Topps and your 2022 Bowman, etc. But he also touches on some older releases that you don't see ripped as often. I mean, I've seen boxes of, Upper Deck SP and SPX from the 90s, for example, just to think of some recent ones that have been ripped on his channel, which is just really cool. I love the variety. No disrespect to anyone who runs channels that only open modern product, but it is nice to see some other stuff mixed in there as well. And then of course, on occasion, he's showing off his Griffey Jr. cards as well that he's grabbing towards his PC and things like that. So all around, a very enjoyable channel and a great dude. Highly encourage you to check him out. There's a link below. In terms of how I wanted to do the shout out for Deedsy, I started to think, and I did a VR recently for Deedsy where he wanted to see a top 10 cards from some part of your collection. So I did a Xander Bogaerts run that concluded with this card here, the Topps Chrome Gold Refractor in the #1 spot. And did that VR because Lily, who's a frequent guest over on Deedsy's channel, is a big Red Sox and Xander Bogaerts fan. So I thought that was a fitting way to do the VR. But I started to think, it would be kind of cool instead, or in addition to that, to do a 10 cool Ken Griffey Jr. cards from my collection. And I kind of decided to go that route for this tip of the cap to Deedsy. So I know Deedsy's a big Griffey guy. I don't have a crazy Griffey collection at all. I'm going to go ahead and guess now that Deedsy probably has all 10 of what I'm going to show here, but they're pretty cool cards nonetheless. I can't compete with the big Griffey guys. Deedsy, I'm sure, knows well, and others of you do that have tried to buy Griffey. He has a rabid fan base with deep pockets, and it's very difficult to get the higher end Griffey cards. But I kind of live somewhere in the middle, and I try to find cheap cards that I like or that have a story behind them or are significant for some reason. So these aren't going to be in any order, but I did pick out 10 here. And the first one was an obvious choice, the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. I believe this might be Deedsy's favorite card, certainly his favorite player, and it's the most iconic card of his favorite player. Anyone who grew up, collecting in the late 80s and 90s just remembers what a big deal this card was. And I put this to this day up there in the list of maybe top 10 most iconic baseball cards of all time, alongside, the 52 Mantle and the 1980 Ricky Henderson, the 2011 update Mike Trout, etc. That 89 Griffey is the definition of iconic in the hobby. I know they made 1 million of them or whatever. That's fine, but just a really, really nice card. And that was obviously going to be one of the 10 that I chose. The next one is probably a little less expected, or you wouldn't think you'd see this. It's a slabbed version, but I just love the card. This is the 1990 Leaf Ken Griffey Jr. And I think the reason that I like this is just nostalgia and personal memories. But in 1990, when this Leaf set came out, it was this was high end. It was a brand new set. There was not Leaf baseball prior to 1990. And when this came on the scene with these kind of classy gray borders and just expensive price point, I remember this stuff at my local card shop being like $5 a pack. And of course, it had the Frank Thomas rookie and Sammy Sosa. But a card that I loved just as much, even though it was a second-year card, was this Ken Griffey Jr., just because it was his first Leaf. It was a very popular set, and it had a cool image. I actually had a copy as a kid in grade school. This is probably, 7th grade, 6th grade, somewhere around there. And in an early act of kindness, I gave it to my friend Eric, who I rode the bus with and lived down the street from me. He loved the card. I knew he did. It was his birthday. It was worth like $27 or something in Beckett, which like when you're in 6th grade is, pretty cool. But I gave the card to him, and I remember he was very, very appreciative. I don't know whatever happened to it. Maybe he still has it to this day. So for many years, I did not have a 90 Leaf Griffey. But then when I got back into the hobby as an adult, obviously things had changed, and was able to pick one of those up, even graded in a PSA 9 for less than the, $27 book value that card held back in the day. So replaced that one, and just love the memories associated with that 90 Leaf. Kind of cheated a little bit for the next, the third of 10 entries here, and this is actually 3 cards in the number 3 spot that I'm just going to count as 1. And I picked these up a while back. I've already shown them on the channel, unlike some of the other cards that we're going to look at today. They were from the 2020 Topps Chrome Update Sapphire release. And what was really cool about that year is usually in Topps Update, we get All-Star Game cards. But in 2020, there was no All-Star Game due to the pandemic. And the way Topps dealt with that is they put some All-Star and Home Run Derby cards from years past on the checklist. And what that meant is when Topps Chrome Sapphire came around and did update, we, for the very first time, got Sapphire cards of some of the retired stars and legends and Hall of Famers. And Griffey, to nobody's surprise, he's obviously very popular with collectors, but he was included in that. And he was actually on the checklist 3 different times. So we have this one here from the 99 Home Run Derby, wearing the cap, post swing here, just a beautiful photograph. To go along with that, we've got this one from the 94 Home Run Derby. And, Sapphire just looks fantastic with the Seattle Mariners colors. Just a really nice match. And then here's the All-Star Game 92, the third and final Sapphire Griffey. So those are the first ever Topps Chrome Sapphire Ken Griffey Jr. cards, that trio. Obviously, they're not playing era cards, having been issued in 2020, but I think they're really kind of sneaky cool just because they are the first Sapphire Griffeys, and you wouldn't expect to have seen that had it not been for COVID messing up the All-Star Game in 2020. So I guess a small silver lining to COVID there is we did get some Sapphire Griffey cards. Next up, this is one that I sort of, in my opinion, I rescued this from a little hobby shop in Connecticut near where I grew up. This was sitting in a discount bin, poorly protected, but it was in good shape, but it was in like a dingy old top loader, and I knew this card needed to be salvaged, so brought it home, added it to the collection. It's a insert card from Stadium Club called Royal Court, and this came out, I believe, in 1998, but look at this card. I mean, I chose this as a favorite for this list purely based on the shine and just how amazing this thing looks in hand. I love the effect here, just the work that went into and the intricacy of, this border. It's simply fantastic. It's very fitting of its name, Royal Court. It does feel very high-end and kind of regal in a sense. I mean, look at the foil work like on this scroll here, how it just glows and lights up. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card. I'm not sure if it's super valuable, but certainly deserved not to be in a dingy old top loader in a discount bin in a forgotten hobby shop in Connecticut. So salvage that, and super happy to have that Royal Court insert in the collection. I'm trying to speed it up here. This is one that I picked up recently, and it's also from the 90s, and it's a parallel that I was just, an insert that I was just a huge fan of as a kid, and it is from the studio release. It's a platinum version, and these cards were made to look like credit cards. So, where you would normally see the credit card number, instead we have his stat line, average home runs and RBIs, his position, where you'd normally see his name, And then you've got, MLB member since and his birth date down below, etc. So done up to look as though it were a credit card. Very, very well done and creative. I love the gimmickiness of this. It sort of screams 1990s and to me, and why that decade was so innovative and great with baseball cards. Got a nice foil Mariners logo here in the lower right, and just a very well laid out, aesthetically pleasing card with a unique concept that you haven't really seen before or since. And I really miss that to some extent in today's hobby. This is the platinum version. As I said, you can see it right here. There's a more common gold version of this, which is exactly what it sounds like. The background is a gold color. But I wanted to get the platinum just because I liked the scarcity of it related to the gold. And this is a card that just takes me right back to being a kid in the mid-90s and trading baseball cards with my buddies. I just love that one. So recent pickup there that I'm very happy to have in the collection. Here is a parallel from the mid-90s that I just thought was the best when I was a kid. And I got this at a steal because it's a lowly Beckett 8.5, but this is a first day issue parallel of Griffey's 1994 Stadium Club card. And this is a design that's very polarizing. I know a lot of people don't like the 94 Stadium Club design with kind of the rip in the first name and the like label maker looking last name on some of these cards. I like the design just because when this came out, I was like 11 years old in the summer of 94, and it was like right in my childhood card collecting heyday. So I adore this set, and I've always loved the first day issue parallel. They have this beautiful first day issue foil stamp that differentiates them. They're not numbered, but they're generally known to be about 2,000 copies of each first day issue parallel, and they're exactly what they sound like. They were the cards that Topps produced on the first day of the print run for the set. So I just love this kind of quirky parallel. Because this is an 8.5, I got this for like $25, which is, borderline criminal if you ask me, but happy to use that to my advantage and add that to the collection. So just 4 to go here. This next one is pretty obvious, but as a lover of baseball cards, I've just always been drawn to the Topps standard rookie card. Just the paper, normal Topps rookie. I just love that they go all the way back to the early 50s and they continue all the way to today. And so had to get into today's countdown the Topps traded, 89 Topps traded Ken Griffey Jr. His Topps rookie card officially. Just love this. It's a classic image. I mean, this is not too far behind the 89 Upper Deck for me in terms of, just being a beautiful looking and iconic Griffey card. Just fantastic shot, and very happy to have this. This is like a 80s essential if you're into rookie cards or just iconic baseball cards in general. It's not an expensive card. They made so many of these, even slabbed up. This is very, very reasonable, but it felt like an essential part of forming a small Griffey collection, and definitely a card that was a no-brainer to include in today's tip of the cap to Deedsy. And then we get down to the final 3. So the first one is going to be a look at the card that's been up the whole time in the background there on the left. That is the 1995 Pinnacle Griffey, and it's got that amazing image of him blowing a gigantic bubble in the locker room in front of his locker. Wanted to include that one in the countdown because I just love the photograph and the quirkiness of it, but I actually have a special Dufex version. This is the Museum Collection parallel version of that card, and you can see the lighting's not cooperating perfectly in here, but you can kind of see what the Dufex does on the bubble there. And then as you tilt the card, Griffey's face or different parts of the locker room light up. I'm a confessed lover of all things Dufex, and so these parallels, which are called Museum Collection, really speak to me. I think this is a sneaky good 90s Griffey card. I got this many, many years ago on ComC, paid $5 for it. And I would imagine they're worth a little more than that now, given what's happened in the hobby, but just a fun card. And really wanted to include it just for that reason, because it's a ton of fun to look at. So there's that one. And we get down to the final 2. This one came in very, very recently. I just picked this up in my latest ComC order, and it's a rare example of me buying a graded card on ComC. I haven't shown this on the channel yet. It's only been here for a week or two. But this is a card I've wanted, even though it's just a simple base card from the 90s. It's not an insert, a parallel. There's no numbering, auto, memorabilia. This is a straight up base card from the 1990s. I've wanted one for so long, and I found one on ComC in a high grade at a price that I was happy with. It is the 1997 Skybox EX2000 Ken Griffey Jr. And this is just a fantastic card. For those of you who haven't seen these, although most collectors probably have because they did these across multiple sports. You can get a Jordan or a Kobe Bryant in this design. You can get Ken Griffey Jr. You can get Dan Marino or Jerry Rice. So they really ran the gamut, but they're just beautiful cards here by Skybox. The outer border of the card is foil and has like a great rainbow foil going on. You can see as I tilt this, the name is in gold foil, but the outer border has this really slick foil. And then the inner part of the card is actually acetate. You can see here. So you've got like that element going on. When you get the light shining through this and it's backlit, those clouds behind Griffey just light up. You've got that inner frame that's done in silver foil as well. For as far as base cards go that you would pull out of a pack that are just part of a base set, this is one of the most aesthetically pleasing base sets of the 1990s, period. And Griffey is, maybe the guy to have from the set just because he was the hobby darling throughout the 90s. So I have long coveted one of these and feels amazing to add this to the collection. And this was kind of the impetus behind me deciding to do the tip of the cap to Deedsy because it seemed like a good way to work this new pickup into a video. And then last but not least, maybe my favorite card, the 10th and final Griffey that we're going to look at today for this tip of the cap. This is a pretty sneaky rare card. So I've talked many times about how 1990 Topps was my first true love as far as collecting baseball cards. The first set that I ripped open packs of, as a 7-year-old in the spring of 1990, and it's had a soft place in my heart ever since. And I've worked on and am working on a few different 1990 Topps related projects. One of those is a buyback set where I'm trying to complete the entire 1990 set but in buyback form. And you know where this is going now, but I have this one, which is heading into the 1990 Topps buyback binder. But check this out. This is the second year Griffey Jr. with the rookie cup from 90 Topps, but it's the 65th anniversary buyback from Topps, silver foil from 2016. Now this card's a little bit beat. Look at this upper left corner. And the bottom right corner is not perfect either. Surface looks good and centering is good, but I don't care. This is not about condition. This is about the rare opportunity to get a buyback of Griffey's second year rookie cup card. You just do not see these often. I think this is a card that's just going to increase in popularity as the years roll on, or in desirability, maybe I should say. And there are just so few copies out there at any point in time. Most of the time, if you look for one of these, there just aren't any available anywhere. Anywhere on the internet that I know of to look for sports cards, you just can't get one of these. And so when the opportunity did crop up to get one of these at a price point that was well under $100 a short while back, or maybe it was a while back now, jumped at that. And this is going to go right into pocket 336 in the binder that houses the 1990 Topps buyback set attempt. So that is a fantastic card. It's a little bit unique and maybe wouldn't be appreciated by others as much as it is by me, but two of my favorite things in the hobby are buybacks and 1990 Topps. So you put those together with Griffey Jr. and a Topps rookie cup, and I'm pretty well sold on that card at that point. So that is the final card in the 10 card Griffey Jr. countdown that I wanted to do as a tip of the cap to Deedsy over at Deedsy Break. So Deedsy, if you catch this, I hope you enjoyed it. I know you probably appreciated the Griffey cards at the very least. Love your channel and everything you do. Keep up the great work, and thanks for all your support of my channel here on the platform as well. It is so appreciated. And to everybody else, I appreciate you spending 20 minutes of your time checking out some sweet Ken Griffey Jr. cardboard. I will be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. But until then, enjoy the hobby and take care.